Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Specialist Roberts. Today I'll be teaching a class on how to perform first aid for burns. Okay, the conditions for this class: you will see a casualty who is suffering from a burn. You will need the casualty's emergency bandage or field dressing here and a canteen of water. Standards: give first aid for a burn without causing further injury to the casualty. Eliminate the source of burn if necessary. Apply dressing lightly over the burn. Ensure that the sides of the dressing are sealed and the dressing does not slip. Okay? Alright, let's go over the risk assessment. So the overall risk assessment today is low. Okay? We had to move inside because of inclement weather, so that gets rid of having to worry about weather or any wildlife. Okay? Just be aware of COVID-19 guidelines. Right? If you have hands on anybody, make sure you're wearing gloves and you're always wearing your mask. Alright? I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to do the TASA standard. So I need one of you to volunteer to be demonstration. All right. So in this situation, our casualty is in a Humvee that's caught on fire. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to remove him from the source of burn. I'm going to make sure we have our PPE on. In this situation, you'd be in full kit with combat gloves on. But because of COVID-19, I want to make sure that we have latex gloves and mask. Alright, so Humvee's on fire, so obviously you're dealing with a thermal burn. So we need to remove some source of burn, which is the fire in the vehicle. So I'm going to take him out, lay him down outside of Humvee, gonna move them farther away, right? And then we need to put out any fire that's on them. So we see that we have fire on our arm, so we're gonna take a non-synthetic material, cover it, and roll them until we have extinguished the fire, okay? Next, we need to gently remove the clothing around the burn. Normally you'd cut away, but we're not gonna cut this guy's uniform, so we're just gonna take it off. In this situation, your casualty is conscious, but you would. All right, he's conscious, so if you want him to sit up, you can sit up. So go ahead and sit up. All right, so we see a burn on the forearm. When you go over your assessment, you'll have this marking your burn. Right? So this is our burn. We need to completely cover the burn with a light sterile dressing. Let's go. Okay. I'm going to take his dressing. You got to have his IFAC. You're going to go completely over the side of the burn, lightly, and completely over the other side. So the entire burn is completely covered up. You want to make it loose, but not so loose that it's going to come undone. Once you have it all the way around, you go ahead and tear. If you have scissors, I don't have scissors, so we'll just keep wrapping it. Once you have it all the way, you can tuck it. You can tie it, or if you have tape it down. And because it's a burn, if you're going to tape it down, you're going to spiral it. Because with burns, they can get inflamed and they can swell. All right? After this, you're going to keep assessing and make sure that they don't get worse. Okay? That's good. You can go ahead and DX that. So let's go over, you can go ahead and put your top back on, thank you. Go ahead and take your seat again. Alright, so let's go more in depth about what we just did. Alright, so the first thing we did was removed him from the source of the burn, and if he was still had that burn, we need to remove that source. So, thermal burn. He's on fire. I'm going to take a non-porous, if his clothes are on fire, non-synthetic material, right? This, you're going to completely cover it, try to smother it. If you don't have anything, you can roll them around on the ground and try to get it out, okay? But there are more types of burns than just thermal, right? So if you have a chemical burn, right? If it is a liquid chemical, you're going to use copious amounts of water and continually rinse it off, right? Keep rinsing it until you've eliminated all of that source of the burn, and then do your wrap. If it is a powdered chemical, you're going to brush it off lightly unless you have very large copious amount of water, right? By copious amounts of water, I mean you have enough water that you're 100% sure you're not going to run out. You have running water. It's the only time you're going to use water on a powdered burn. And the reason is because if it's powdered chemicals, you can just move it around, right? And unless you continue to flush it, you're not going to get rid of it. Okay. All right, electrical burns, right? So to remove from the source of electrical burn, if there's an exposed wire or something like that, first you're going to try to turn the electricity off, right? If you can't turn the electricity off, then you need to use a non-conductive material like a rope, a piece of wood, something to drag or pull your casualty away from that electricity before you put your hands on them, right? Because we don't want to put ourselves in danger. And lastly, you have laser burns, right? So if you have a laser burn, you want to move them away from that source of the burn, away from that laser, making sure that you're avoiding eye contact with that laser because you don't want to blind yourself. All right, so uncovering the burn, right? So like what we did, you can just unzip it, pull it off. In most cases, you're going to want to cut away the burn or away the clothes, right? And then you want to lift it away unless the clothes are stuck to the burn. If your clothes are stuck and melted into the burn, then you're going to cut around it. Okay, you're not just going to rip it off and make because remember, under conditions, we need to not create more injury to the patient. All right, if the casualty's hands or wrists have been burned, you also want to remove any jewelry, right? Because like we said, burns can make where it is swell. You don't want that swelling to cut off circulation if they've got a bracelet or a ring on. All right, next you're going to apply the casualty's dressing to the burn. Right, so like we just did, we're going to take that dressing, completely cover the whole burn, making sure to extend past the burn on both ends, right? If it's on hands or feet, you want to make sure that you're wrapping the fingers and the toes separately because you don't want them to stick together, okay? Electricity burns generally will leave an entry and an exit burn. Right, so if it's through, if you want to check on both sides, if it's like on the abdomen, both sides, make sure that you're covering on everything. If the casualty is conscious and not nauseated, make sure you give them a little bit of something to drink. Right, you want to watch the casualty closely for any life-threatening conditions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you guys practice for a little while. So you can do it on each other. So go ahead, grab all of the materials you need. You have wrap here, gloves, use this to put out the burn. You're going to be simulating a thermal burn, okay?
We're also practicing the game
Yeah,
route.
go ahead, pretend you're inside of a Humvee that's on fire. So you can remove you from that source of burn.
with your shit.
Don't worry about doing the.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about that right now.
Okay.
Just make sure you can visualize where the burn is and you're going over it. When you're actually evaluated, we'll make sure that there's something you can see.
All right. Are you okay?
It hurts.
It hurts?
Yeah, you're good. Make sure you get that spot. Make sure when you're doing the taping at the end, you're not tightening it, right? That's just on there to keep the dressing from coming loose.
Gotcha.
Okay. Dressing's on. What are you doing at this point?
At this point, I'm gonna make sure that it's on there good
Uh-huh.
and that there's no other injuries and that and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna get him out of you.
Yep. You're gonna watch casualty for any life-threatening conditions. Continue to assess and get into further medical treatment.
Gotcha.
Okay, good. Go ahead and DX all that, and then you guys can switch roles. Yep, you're gonna eliminate the source of the burn. You don't necessarily have to be rough with it, right? As long as you're smothering it, completely covering it, you're gonna put the burn out. It does need to be loose, but you need to make sure that it's not so loose that it's gonna slip. You've got it coming off a lot down there at the bottom.
I see.
So you can do a little bit tighter than that, just to make sure it's not gonna slip. You don't want, because this isn't covering the burn, right? You can still get debris up in there. So make sure you tighten that part down a little bit. Pull it a little bit tighter. DX that? How do you feel? Do you feel like you guys are ready to be tested on this?
I feel like we can do it one more time.
You want to practice one more time? Okay, go ahead and practice one more time. Go ahead and you can just unzip and then Velcro it down so it's easier to get off. Alright, remove from the source of burn. Completely cover, smother that burn. Okay, fire's out. Right, he's conscious, you can talk to him, right? So, hey man, sit up, I can go.
How you doing, man? You alright?
Oh, arms over.
No pain? Wrap this up so it doesn't get any worse, man. Let me get you out of here. You're right. Okay, go ahead and DX. Pretty decent.
How on are y'all ready?
You feel you ready, Martine?
Man,
Yeah, you ready?
I need to do one more shot.
You need it one more?
Back over here.
Get your pocket trim. I wasn't too confident on my wrapping.
What's that?
I wasn't too confident on the wrapping part.
Okay.
Martinez, I think you got it. I think we're ready to test. All right.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and get ready.
What? If I breathe like regular, it like goes up in my glasses? You know?
Okay, Martina. So, you have a burning casualty inside of a Humvee. You have to put out the source of the burn and treat it without causing further injury. Okay? And then after it's done, you need to find further medical help. Go ahead and go. See his right arm is on fire. Okay, the fire's out.
You're right.
Yeah. Please be up, Doc.
You're right. You all right?
Yeah, man. Doesn't feel too special, man. Am I gonna lose my arm?
Nah, you're fine.
He's stuck here, wife.
Okay, what are you gonna do now?
Continue to reassess and wait and evac them out of here.
Okay, good job. Go ahead and de-access. Over here, looking for birth out. Don't worry about this stuff. You need to make sure you're good. Okay, while you're getting your top on, recall you have a casualty who's stuck inside of a burning Humvee. You need to pull them out, remove from the source of the burn, and treat them without causing further injury.
Roger.
How about your equipment? Okay. Go ahead and start.
How you doing, man?
Alright, see his right arm is on fire still. Fire's out. Back yourself.
Sit up.
Man, what happened? How'd y'all blow the Humvee up like that?
Oh, I don't remember much what happened.
It's all blurred.
Yeah. Let's run
point?
We continue to reassess, make sure he doesn't have any other critical injuries,
Okay.
and then transport him.
All right, good. Go ahead and DX. Clean up everything. Go ahead and do a walk through the training area. Make sure we have any garbage up off the floor.
Okay.
Consolidate it all in one spot, and I'll make sure all gets cleaned up. Okay. At this time, training proficiency is a T. They're all go. There's no need for any retraining because everyone has passed. Thank you. So your stuff, once you get everything together, go ahead and tapes, cut off garbage. Alright. So we'll go ahead and conduct an AAR. Okay. So what was supposed to happen, right? We were conducting a class on performing first aid, treat burns. Alright. Did we end up accomplishing that? Is that what happened?
Roger.
Okay. Do you have any improves on how I can be better next time?
I think it was a pretty inclusive class. You covered all types of burns and everything, so I feel like it was a great class.
Okay.
It was pretty great overall, even the little demonstration there, went pretty well also.
Okay. Any sustainments?
Doing it before you show us and then going back and running us
Demonstration
through
first.
it. Roger.
Okay. Alright, so just to reiterate, supposed to do a class on first aid, how to perform first aid for burns. We accomplished that. Improves, we didn't really come up with any good improves. Sustains, so we're doing the demonstration first. Okay, just go over, risk assessment, seemed like low, everybody made sure we were wearing a mask the whole time. Didn't have any problems with that. Okay, looks like everything is cleaned up, so you guys are good to go. Thank you for coming to class today.
Appreciate it.
Alright,